Who's that? Commander Claw. Who's bad? Commander Claw. Welcome to episode 3. Hopefully, you are binge watching all of these Edge of the Eternity spoilers that I'm producing. I'm just going through them. I'm just picking cards, see what cards look interesting from the artwork to the abilities and their rarity. Also, mythic rares, and uncommons. And occasionally, there might be a common in these 5 cards for each episode. So, make sure you stick around. This is episode 3. Let's get to the very first card. Okay, so we have Halaya, Guided by Light. 2 and a white, 3/3 body, legendary human soldier. She says whenever she or another creature or artifact you control enters, you gain 1 life. That is a lot. So you cast it for 3 mana, you gain 1 life. You put in a bunch of creatures, you gain 1 life for each of those creatures. Oh, you put in a bunch of artifacts, treasure tokens, clue tokens, any other Mox Ambers and other artifacts, you gain a life. That is already giving me the multi-directional build in mono white. Okay. Then she says, at the beginning of your end step, draw a card if you gain 3 or more life this turn. Cool. So that doesn't even have to be from her abilities. That could be from other triggered abilities. As long as you gain 3 or more life. Then she has warp. We talked about this in episode 1. So for 1 white mana, you may cast this card from your hand for its warp cost. Exile this creature at the beginning of the next end step. Then you may cast it from exile on a later turn. I'm not sure if you can cast for its warp cost from the command zone. That's something I need to look up. Otherwise, I don't see this really being attractive besides the gain life triggers. I do see it working in a that new commander from Final Fantasy, Hope Estadium, where it's a mill deck and you gain life. I do like that. There is another commander out there that wants to gain life on a bunch of triggers. I just did it too. Oh my gosh, can't think of it. But anyways, uh, not a solid mono white commander. Is going to reward you for playing creatures. You do that anyway in mono white, but it's card draw on your commander as long as you gain 3 or more life on your end step. Solid, solid. I don't see anything else. I think this is going to be a budget card, maybe $1 at best. Okay, here we go. We got an Eldrazi alert. Anticausal Vestige for 6 mana, 7/5 body Eldrazi. When this creature leaves the battlefield, draw a card. Then you may put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. Warp 4. You may cast this card from your hand for its warp cost. Exile this creature at the beginning of your next end step, then you may cast it from exile on a later turn. Okay, this is a tricky, slick, nasty Eldrazi, right? Okay, so let's unpack this. Scenario 1. You just cast this for 6 mana. It is a 7/5 generic creature. It leaves the battlefield for some reason. Whether you sacrificed it, whether somebody removed it, you get to draw a card and put a permanent card with mana value equal to the number of lands you control from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. So if you have 13 lands, maybe you get to put one of the powerful Eldrazi's onto the battlefield. Mm, without even casting it. That is ugly. Or scenario 2, for its warp 4, you play the card, it's a 7/5. It leaves the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. Most likely that is your turn. Then you get to put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield equal to or less than the number of lands you control. Oh my gosh, you are playing with people's feelings. Then, since you warped it, you can cast it later. So it's like you get to play the spell twice. It triggers twice. Yeah, yeah, and it's colorless, so it can go in any deck. Oh man, you guys are gonna have fun out there with stuff you can do. This is gonna be an expensive card. Yeah, just because it can go in any deck. So I'm gonna guess around $7. Easy, $7 USD. Now, the only reason why I put this card on this list is because of the artwork. When I first saw it, I was like, WTF, what in the world? Ragos Deft Gastronaut. Okay, so we got a cooking astronaut here for Boros. Two body, legendary lobster citizen. Who knew? That is definitely something from Star Trek. Uh, something sci-fi. Anything lobsters that are citizens. It says artifacts you control are foods in addition to their other types, and have tap two. Sacrifices artifact. You gain 3 life. Tap a 1 mana. Sacrifice a food. Ragos deals 3 damage to each opponent. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain life this turn, untap Ragos. So I guarantee you somebody's going to find a way to do infinite damage with this commander. It's written all over the text box here. There's no way. Y'all think 1 mana is going to stop somebody? There's a bunch of 0 mana artifacts. There's artifacts that come back into play after they hit the graveyard. Oh my gosh. And then all artifacts are foods. Yeah, yeah. And you deal 3 damage to each opponent every time you sacrifice quote unquote a food. I think it's interesting that it's Boros colors and it makes food out of your artifacts. Oh my gosh. I can't even begin. People are gonna have fun brewing this commander. This looks like fun. Somebody's gonna break this. Stay tuned. Stay tuned for a Break and Brews episode. I'm gonna figure out something for y'all to work with. So anytime I see a blue card and it says additional trigger, I can tell you it's not going to be cheap. It's not going to be cheap. This is not a budget-friendly card. Let's talk about Starfield Vocalist. For 3 and a blue, 3/4 body, creature, human bard. If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Starfield Vocalist has Warp for 1 and a blue. Remember, you may cast this card from your hand for its Warp cost. Exile this creature at the beginning of the next end step, then you may cast it from exile on a later turn. So there's nothing new here, right? You're literally doubling up triggers. What is good about this card is its warp cost. So on a turn that you want to specifically double up a trigger, you literally just pay 2 mana, a blue and a generic mana, then cast or activate ability of something else to trigger Starfield Vocalist ability. Then at the end step, Starfield Vocalist goes into exile and you can cast it later. So in a way, you can protect this future expensive card in my mind. Yeah, yeah. You protect it because it'd be in exile, then you cast it later on when you feel like maybe your board state is ready for exponential value. And it's only 4 mana to cast. Yeah, this is not a budget friendly card. It's gonna be, I would say this is gonna be a $10 card easily. So we have the Extinguisher Battleship here for 8 mana. Artifact spacecraft. So when this spacecraft enters, destroy target non-creature permanent. Then the spacecraft deals 4 damage to each creature. Station. We know what station is. Okay, for 5+ counters, flying trample, it will become a 10/10 spacecraft. I believe this will not be a commander because it's not legendary. So this is kind of just nothing fantastic about this really. The fact that it can destroy a non-creature permanent at 8 mana, I'm not that too excited on it, but it can become a flying trample 10/10. Yeah, and only 5 charge counters. That's not a lot compared to 7 and 10 and 20, like the Eternity Elevator. Yeah, solid card, 8 mana, heavy investment. Sounds like another Eldrazi, a generic Eldrazi. This is like a generic Eldrazi colorless creature artifact that can just destroy something and deal 4 damage to each creature / board wipe and move on. Now that I said that, I kind of am underrating it. But for 8 mana, it should do all that. I think the good thing about these spacecrafts is they're like the Transformers. They start out as they can, or when whatever more than meets the eye. They're just artifacts, but when they become artifact vehicles, they are creatures. So if an opponent has a removal spell that says creature, your artifact will stay on the battlefield. So that buys you time and make players decide if they should hold on to the removal to remove your quote unquote creature when it becomes a creature. That's what I like about this card. Moving on. So if you like this video, this was episode 3, Edge of Eternity spoilers coming out. I got more videos coming out. Go ahead and click this video on the right hand side for episode 4. Let's keep it moving.